I was in Washington, D.C. just a couple of years ago, driving down the middle of the street with Steve Brown was actually driving. We were doing our Courage Tour meetings and meetings with Mario Murillo. And man, all of a sudden, the guy's in the middle of the street with a crowbar, smashing windows. Every car that drove by, smashing windows and banging on them. He was like drugged out of his mind. Another time, I'm in a restaurant and a guy comes in with his hand behind his back, indicating he had a gun, holding me up. This is in Washington, D.C. So when I hear about the crime in D.C., I know firsthand what it's like. And that's in addition to have my own vehicle blown up once. So that's a spiritual vortex there. That's why I want to talk to you about what Donald Trump is doing to take back control of not only D.C., but this is a spiritual moment when he's coming back strong. He's coming in strong to say, hey, Chicago, New York, lawlessness is not going to be, sanctuary cities are not going to protect you. The spirit of lawlessness is under siege right now in America. And I'm glad it is. I'm going to give you some inside information about what's happening in the battle to take back the cities of America. I would say the demonic strongholds are under siege right now. Heaven is doing something wild. But I got a note here about my staff said you really ought to talk about taking back control, even in your own body, physically, because we had in our studio this week, I had a couple of miracle testimonies about the ongoing discovery we're making regarding the level 10 matrix, that people are literally bouncing back physically, cognitively, mentally, from all kinds of issues. And I just want to say this. If you go to lancewallnau.com, go to level10matrix.com, level10matrix.com, and you can get all the information. I've got a booklet for you there on like stem cells and the science of what I believe is a revolution in the human body. I just want you to check it out because we're getting testimony after testimony coming out of that. And you can talk to some of the consultants there and ask questions and get some information. Annabelle and I are huge supporters of this because we believe you can take your health back, you can take your life back, and we're believing that God is doing the work right now to take America back. And you're going to love this broadcast. Don't miss it. Don't forget, level10matrix.com. Oh, is there a number? 1-800-361-2270. All right, check it out. Well, there's a real meltdown over D.C. having the crime reduced. You know, it's so weird, right? You got freaking out people all over the country, Democrats over their corrupt, lawless cities, all having their minds blown up because Trump, with his federal authority in the capital of D.C., has cracked down on crime. How's that crackdown working? Don't let anyone bamboozle you. Here's some statistics. By the way, let's hear what Janine Pirro has to say, U.S. District Attorney for D.C.
Hi, everyone. It is Monday, August 25th, and we continue with President Trump's surge to make D.C. safe and beautiful. Our law enforcement partners, along with the local police, made 86 arrests last night. That was a big night. 10 guns were seized off the street, bringing the number of arrests to 1,007 and 111 guns taken off the street. That means 111 guns can't be used in assaulting and killing people. I think the most important part of all this is that today, on August 25th, we are in our 12th day of no homicides. In spite of the fact that we have 101 homicides so far this year, it has been 12 days without one homicide. And I got to tell you, folks, that's big. That's really big. The deterrent effect of all that's going on as a result of the president's move to make D.C. safe and beautiful is literally changing the safety landscape of Washington. This president is making a difference. And I'm telling you that as the prosecutor here, we're putting together the best cases we can to bring those cases into court to get convictions. Have a good day.
Well, let's take a look at this. So and Donald Trump is threatening. He's threatening to take the show on the road. He says, we got to take care of these other cities. I mean, there's no reason why hoodlums and muggers and carjackers and vagrants and people are walking around intimidated and frightened. Listen, I had 2 attempted muggings in my own life in Washington, D.C., and 1 limousine bombed. So I can tell you personally that, believe me, I'm praying whenever I go to the city to go visit a politician. But the cities in the United States, I get so frustrated with Grok because their programs, sometimes these AIs are so programmed by the left. They're saying, "Oh, crime's not a problem." I go, "Well, let me just give me the top 10. Crime's not a problem. Where isn't crime a problem? Overall crime. Tell me the total violent crime data. All right, top 10 cities. Memphis, Tennessee, 9,000 per 100 residents, close to 10% of the residents. Total crime rate out of 100,000 residents, 9,400. Portland, Oregon, 6,000 crimes committed. Detroit, 6,000. Seattle, 5,700. So Memphis, Portland, Detroit, Seattle, Baltimore, Denver, Nashville, Philadelphia. Makes you wonder what party is running these cities, who's running these cities, and to what extent is this crime just baked in as part of the way in which lawlessness is tolerated? Well, Trump is indicating, look how we could turn around this city. Let me hear what, I haven't heard this yet, but you got a video in there of Stephen Miller laying out Trump's crime crackdown in D.C. Let's hear what Stephen Miller says.
No police officer working in the city can remember a time in their lives when there has been no murders. You can work at the police department for 20 years, 30 years, your whole life. We've checked the records. No one can even find a record of being murder-free for as long as we've been murder-free under President Trump's leadership. Additionally, and the president spoke about this before, we've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in this city, and it will all be uncovered and it will all be brought to light. You know, I've had a chance to spend some time, as has everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude, because for the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again. People had changed their whole lives in this city for fear of being murdered, mugged, and carjacked. It is a literal statement that President Trump has freed 700,000 people in this city who were living under the rule of criminals and thugs.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. That, of course, you can change the way you report a crime. So let's say that you say people are going into Rite Aid or Walmart or CVS, and they're stealing stuff. And then instead of it being classified as this kind of a crime, you drop it down to a misdemeanor, and suddenly crime's down. Not because the crime isn't happening, but because you reclassify how you report the crime. And that's what they're going to come up with. What actually happened versus the category of reduction. So carjacking, we know this, even with the doctored numbers. In Washington, is down 85%. It was, there was 190 carjackings in Washington. It was like, I was watching this. It was like a business in Washington, D.C. Carjacking, 190 in the last 6 months. It's down 85%. Robberies are down 42%, violent crime down 25%, and that happens when you have 1,000 arrests. And many other Democrat-run cities have essentially now thrown up a warning, like, oh, no, don't come here. We don't want you here. But Trump's going after something called cash bail. That means the suspects are released from custody while they await trial without posting any bail. And as the name implies, supporters say the policy combats so-called systemic racism and protects the poor, but critics say it allows for dangerous criminals to be released right back into the street. This is where your Soros-funded DAs and your defund the police and you're changing on the laws regarding crimes, because the socialist idea is that they're victims and therefore they should be able to do what they have to do to survive. But you see, when you don't have a cash bail, no cash bail means someone could technically commit rape or assault and not worry about no cash and being told to come back in a couple of months for a trial, and they take off and they never show up in court. So Trump is actually going against that now. He's saying he wants to eliminate that. And he wants to federalize the process so that the people that are caught are going to be taken into federal, not local police, but federal custody, because federal judges are more likely to eliminate entirely, more likely to keep suspects in custody before a trial, especially more serious crimes like rape or murder. So it's Trump's way of saying, no, you're not going to have a no cash bail. We're going to lock them up till the trial happens. So this is kind of this is where, in the granular form, you start looking at this data and you go, man, no wonder we have people realizing that you're going to have real law and order. So Trump says in video 5, the Pentagon's planning to deploy a couple of thousand National Guard troops, maybe active duty forces, to Chicago. Watch this.
And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago.
Well, like I said, I can give you a whole list of cities that actually need. Now, can the president do that? There's a challenge. And the challenge is he can federalize the District of Columbia because that's where the federal government is. You cannot do that in Chicago unless he was to federalize the National Guard like you do in a riot. And you say, no, we're going to have to overrule the governor. Now, the Governor Pritchard, just like Governor Newsom, it's strange how the Game of Thrones is, that the states that are the most lawless, that are the sanctuary cities, that have the crime, also have blue state governors that want to run for president. And so Pritchard's going to grandstand this as a stand against tyranny, but I think he's going to have a problem because the governor, J.D. Pritzker, may be calling this an authoritarian power grab. But when crime is reduced and the people are safe and dangerous gangs are being taken off the streets, well, it's a different story then, isn't it? Now you have an election subject, and I think Trump is doing something that's very shrewd. He is showing that he's for the people, and the politicians are for the criminals, and that's not the position that any of them really want to be in. Of course, Illinois' Governor Pritzker says he's going to go to the mats and fight Trump if he wants to come to Chicago, because Chicago's a great place. Like Trump doesn't know that. And there's no crime going on here. And ironically, he does this announcement right in front of Trump Plaza, the Trump Tower. Check this out.
We're very pleased about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is activated?
Yeah, and I think all of them are going to look kind of like a sitcom, because I don't think you're going to stop Trump. The only one that can stop Trump is Trump. Right now, he's on a roll. And that's the way it ought to be. We're going to be talking about a lot of these things. We got so much I want to talk about. I want to talk about the flag burning. I want to talk about the Bolton raid, what's going on there. And by the way, most of you guys might have missed this, but Trump says he's totally in favor of revoking the broadcast licenses for ABC and NBC. I'm telling you, he is blowing their minds. This is the counter-revolutionary moment. We'll have to cover this again tomorrow in tomorrow's broadcast. We'll see you then.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.